What was the biggest plot twist that happened in your life? Found out that I had a terminal cancer 2 days before moving to my apartment and starting my last year of college. Later find out that I actually have a very treatable cancer. Best plot twist of my life. My uncle is actually my father. I'm not referring to my mother's brother. Backstory. My mom slept with 2 brothers at separate times. In the 70s they could only give a blood test for paternity. I didn't find out until I was 14 when we all took a DNA test who my actual father was. My mom and I haven't really had any relationship for the past 5 years for a lot of reasons, a couple of huge parts of that being my having left the religion that I was raised in and her having severe bipolar disorder that made her nearly impossible to deal with, which she refused to maintain treatment for. We have only spoken once in the last 5 years, and it was awful. It was about a year and a half ago. I drove down to CA to visit her 450 miles from me and tried to patch things up. It ended up in a huge blowout fight and generally went as poorly as it possibly could. We never spoke again. One morning in May of this year my dad showed up at my door randomly. He and my mom had been divorced for many years and said we needed to talk. The apartment building my mom was living in had been set on fire and she didn't make it out. I still can't believe how hard it hit me. It changed me. Maybe forever. The worst part was about 3 weeks ago, when I was trying to remember the password to an old PayPal account. I had to have it reset, and it was sent to an old email address that I haven't used in years. When I logged in I found an email from her, sent just shortly before she died, apologizing and trying to reconnect and make amends. We had been out of contact for so long it was the last email address she had for me, but since I hadn't been using it for years I didn't get her message until months after her death. When I was around 8 I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy and some severe heart issues. Everyone kinda just assumed I would die any day after that. Well, come 8 years later I was still here, and my doctors pretty much gave up on figuring out what is wrong with me. So my parents decided to get a second opinion. We went to Mayo Clinic, and I was easily diagnosed with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Something that is easily treated through exercise in my case. POTS varies a lot and can be much more difficult to fight for others. The opposite of what my doctors told me to do. After that I was just like now I have to plan my future. Started dating a girl. Her single mom meets my single dad. They mingle hard. Girl sleeps with my best friend. Messy breakup. Now my ex-girlfriend is my stepsister. Life is a sick BTCH. The past year has been one consistent plot twist. I enter my first year of college, wanting to connect with my grandmother more after my grandfather passed away when bam she ducking passes away from kidney failure. Try to take it and get my mind off of things by walking my dog more when bam my dog passes away from leg carcinoma. I try to keep focused on my work and future and do well on my midterms in March when bam my dad ducking passes away from surgery complications. I tell myself to keep strong and go on with my second year of college. My dad's lifelong best friend promises to teach me how to grill the way my father used to when bam he ducking dies from a heart attack. I want to upvote you, but I also want to stay alive. Wife was pregnant with our third and last planned child. We ended up in the emergency room as she was miscarrying. The nurse cried because the fetus was not viable, so there was nothing to be done. It was horrible. One of the first times I felt completely helpless as an adult. Welp. Turns out the miscarry was actually her body making room for twins. The girls are 5 now. Went from losing 1 to gaining 2. My wife was put on bed rest and went on to carry the twins to full term. The unlikely twin is named Grace. Grew up with a normal loving family. 3 brothers, mom and dad. Plot twist: mom cheated and one brother has another father. I then learn my dad has been depressed and putting up with my mom for us kids and wants a divorce. Another plot twist: dad tries to escape depression by flying airplanes which he loves and ends up crashing. Now my mom is a destructive alcoholic. I was transferred to a division Within a few months my new supervisor and I hated each other. She was incompetent, and I spoke up when she screwed up. She made my life heck and finally decided to give me a job that she thought would make me quit. I packed up my stuff in a box and asked for help moving to my new desk. She said she didn't have anyone to spare. I was carrying my box and didn't see a spill on the floor. Ironically, just outside her office, I slipped, fell, and broke my knee. I'm on permanent disability. Very legitimately. Received a huge settlement. Lifetime healthcare. Retired early. She was demoted, then fired. Partially due to the way she handled my case. This all happened a few years ago. Recently when my husband and I were grocery shopping, I saw her in the store. I didn't want to see her, but my husband caught her eye and gave her a big thumbs up. She looked pissed. Was a rebellious teenager. My mom had gotten fed up and committed me to a psych hospital saying I was threatening to kill her and myself. It was actually really great and helped me kind of get zen. The day before I was supposed to be released, my mom came to visit to tell me my dad died during the night. Turned my life upside down and I was 2 steps behind where I started. Took me years to recover. For 17 years I thought I had 2 birthmarks on my torso. That is until my then GF was curious about them and took a very close look at them. Turns out I have an extra set of nipples. Tiny but fully formed with a realus and all. Plot twist, you are a cat. I bought a pair of dress pants for an interview for 2 at a thrift store and found 100 in the pocket. That was a good day. Yes, I got the job. It wasn't a great job, but hey, money. The girl who I took to homecoming and the girl who I went to prom with started dating a couple of months after I took her to prom. Parents split when I was little. Came out to my mum and stepdad when I was 13. Phoned my dad up when I was 16 because it was time I had to let him know. Dad, I've got something to tell you. Whatever it is, I love you. I'm gay. So am I. What? Dad, stop matching with me on Grindr, it's not funny. I met a girl through POF and dated her for a year. She lived 6 minutes up the street from me, so we saw each other quite often. Both of us were quite introverted, so we mainly only hung out with each other. We both considered the relationship to be serious and exclusive. Anyway, right from the start of the relationship, I noticed that she would text this one guy pretty frequently. I asked her about him, and she told me that he was her tattoo artist. Just to be snoopy, I checked out the website of the place she gets her tattoos done. Sure enough, there was a tattoo artist there with the same first name as the guy in her phone, but the last name was different. I asked her about it, and she quickly called me out on being paranoid, and how it was ridiculous to think that she would lie to me. I agreed. It was pretty paranoid of me. Maybe 5 months later into the relationship, I'm on Facebook and I decide to search the name of the guy in her phone. A profile comes up in the same small city we both live in, but there is no profile picture or anything. I decide to bring it up with her again, because now there is 2 Facebook profiles, one who is actually a tattoo artist, and one who has the same name that is in her phone. She freaks out on me for bringing it up again, and tells me that I'm crazy. I agreed, but just wanted a straight answer. She told me that I had nothing to be worried about. I apologized, and we got over it. About a year into the relationship, I found her on POF. I would periodically go on there to see if she recreated her profile. We both deleted our profiles. I found a profile that I thought might be hers, but obviously no pictures. I catfished it, and it turned out to be her. She was back on POF and looking for guys. I had all the evidence I needed, and I was going to confront her with it the next day and break up with her. However, I thought that if I was going to break up with her, I was going to message this Facebook profile I had found that matched the name in her phone. Just out of curiosity. Plot twist, I message the guy. He gets back to me immediately. We converse, and it turns out that he is her boyfriend. I had been her second boyfriend the entire time. She met him 2 months before she met me. She bounced back between me and him for an entire year. Neither me or him knew about each other. He saw my name in her phone once, and she said that I was her tattoo artist. Every time I ever called her out, I was right. Every time she was gone mysteriously at night, she was with him. Every time she said she was hanging out with a friend of hers, she was with him. She doesn't actually have any friends. It was always him. Anyway, we both broke up with her the next morning and met the next day to have a beer. Haven't spoken with him since. At 29 years old, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer terminal, which had already spread to my lungs and some ribs. Certainly changed the course of my life. Funny thing is, I went to the doctor to have my lungs checked because I was having trouble breathing on my long runs. For 6 years prior to that, the lumps in my breast had been passed off as cysts and dense breast tissue. Nothing to worry about. You're so young. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.